Hey everyone, welcome to the Zio Studio Buzz podcast episode 53. This is a podcast about the fiber arts and woolly fun things that you can do with yarn, with wool, with knitting, crochet, whatever. My name is Doug and I am coming to you from Albuquerque in the beautiful desert of New Mexico. I'm also the dyer of Zia Wools, my little yarn company, one woman show. I hope this finds you all well. We are all doing good here. However, just really sad news. Everything is now canceled for my daughter, who's a senior in high school, and it's just heartbreaking, really. No prom, no last dance, no getting together, not even getting together with your friends when you're sad. I mean, it's just breaks my heart for her. Yeah. Okay, but you probably have enough of that in your own surroundings. Hopefully I can distract you a little bit of what's going on out there yet again, and so I'm going to jump right in and start talking to you about what I'm wearing, because that's my first and only finished object. But do a little knee gymnastics so you can see this better. So this little cardigan, no, I did not whip this out in the past week or so. I may be fast sometimes, but I'm not that fast. So the story is that I have knitted this after a pattern that I found in a German knitting magazine, Stricktrends. That's what it's called. It was a few years back, but I really loved this lace panel and lace and cables. And so I wanted to incorporate that in a garment, but I wasn't too sure of what, I didn't want to do what they did. It was kind of this wide tunic short sleeve thing that you wear when you go to the beach, but I don't use it. I don't use that kind of thing in summer. So I thought, hey, I have this beautiful yarn which I purchased in Germany a while back, and I thought that's going to be perfect for a little summer cardigan with short sleeves. I had purchased the yarn in the little yarn store close to my mom's, where I usually shop when I'm over there. They have the brand called Lana Grossa, and I bought enough for a short sleeve cardigan because I fell in love with the color. That was the first thing. And then I thought, yeah, great for summer. It's a 50-50 merino silk. No, not merino, sorry, cotton and silk blend. This is the yarn. So what happened then is I modified that shirt or tunic pattern that I found in a magazine, and I started working on it, and you see, this one really has the dolman sleeves. So I was not even taking that into account, really. I think I used 4mm needles. I started with the back, and already when I was done with the back, I realized, oh my gosh, I used up so much yarn. I am barely gonna have enough for the front, also because compared to my original pattern that had short sleeves to here, I believe I made mine longer, obviously. So I had way less than half left when I was done with the bag. I thought, well, I'm making a deep neckline. That's fine here where I live for the summer. But still, by the time I was done, I had the half sleeves, no yarn left for a ribbing. And my neckline was really very, very wide. I mean, thankfully I did make the ribbing in the front for the button band ribbing, and I made a little bit of a neckline thing here, but not as big as it is now. And I had ordered the wooden buttons in an Etsy shop, and at that point I was already smart enough, and I was thinking I want a second button here, and I'm gonna make that ribbing. I make it just twice the width that I had originally done. So I had Mom buy me another skein of the yarn, and since she brought the skein, it was all sitting in the hallway closet, ready to be finished. I was smart enough. I had tied the extra button with a note to the sweater where it said probably what needle size I used, and I'm pretty sure it was right, the 4 millimeters for the body, and no, wrong, 4.5 millimeters for the body, and then 4 millimeters for the ribbing. And I started off with the ribbing on the sleeves, and I didn't want to make that match here because I wanted it right to sit at to stay sitting at the elbow right here. So just visually a lot more pleasing, I thought. And the neckline, I undid my cast off, picked up the stitches, and just kept going, worked a second buttonhole, and kept going to where I thought it was visually pleasing with the two buttons here, and just to hold it together. So in fact, what I did was, for this ribbing, I used 4 millimeter needles. But here, because I really did not want it to widen and get loose, I wanted it to pull together a little bit more. And so I used 3.5 millimeter needles here. When you look at the ribbing, you see there's just ever so slightly almost like a line in the middle, but I think it's because I used the crinkled yarn from that I had knit up before in the previous cast off. I kept on going with that until I ran out of that before I attached this. But I think it's only me who sees that, so it's fine. Yes, 1FO. That made me really happy because it's what you need right now. You need quick success sometimes, so that was really fun. That was my only FO, too. I had then, oh man, it's a big pile. Rearrange things a little bit. You know, I told you, I showed you the beginnings of the new socks last time. I started these for my big boy, German opal yarn. And the way I started doing the socks was with 2.5 millimeter needles. I cast on 64 in the round. I did a 22 round ribbing, and then my standard, what I always do for the heel, and then to decrease here to the same amount of stitches for the foot. We all have wide feet, so that's what I do for everybody in the family. And so this is where his sock is. And the one for my daughter was the one. I know I had the tag here. Of course, I saw it earlier, but now it's gone again. It's the Jinx yarn that I picked for my daughter, a hand-dyed, self-striping, beautiful yarn. Same point of no return. What did you say? Same, kind of like 10 rows into the foot after the decreases, and same concept with the rows for the leg, short minis, and a heel with a heel flap, and then gusset done a few rows after that. Then this beautiful self-striping, which I love so much because it kind of there's this heathery blend from color to color. It's so incredible. I don't know how Laura did these. It's sad that she doesn't dye anymore. So for my boy, for my girl, then for yours truly, of course, I had to cast on something special too. And it's a little bit embarrassing to say this, but I'm going to confess my sins. This was waiting in a bag for a whole year. It was gifted to me by sweet Vicky in Canada. Thank you, Vicky. And she decided for us that we were going to make sister socks. Are her socks finished? Yes, long time ago. Are mine finished? No, had not even started my socks. But now, finally. So she shared with me a skein of sock yarn by a Canadian dyer. I'm sorry, I can't remember which one. But this was the yarn. And the cool thing is, you're going to say, what is that in there? She put a little sheep in there. Absolutely adorable. I kept it in here so I could show you. And now it's going to go on my shelf with my sheep collection. Thank you, Vicky. That was just the cutest surprise ever. So I decided, because these were an advent calendar gift, by the way, with and also the bag. So I decided I wanted to kind of keep the Christmassy spirit, and I picked 2 glitzy minis for the leg ribbing. And this is the one that I've used for the first foot, for the first sock. And this is where I am right now. Again, 22 in the blue. Then I think I added another 3 rounds before I started my heel. And yet again, after the gusset, about 10 rows, and then on to the next one. Yes, I started another pair of socks. I'm crazy. These are crazy times. People do crazy things, and it's comforting. So, no regrets. And they will get done at some point. I had for a long time set aside a skein of yarn that I wanted to try for myself, to see how it wears and how it knits up and all of that. And it was a Targhee yarn, a 90% Targhee, superwash Targhee, 10% nylon, that I carried in the shop for a limited time. It's all gone except for this one skein that I had set aside for myself. And it is this. It's the colorway Shipwreck. So the story is that the only reason why I did not start knitting this up earlier, I think it's really that I had not too long before these, I had knitted a pair of minty green socks, and I thought, oh, I don't want to make the same color, even though it's so completely different. It's not the same color, but still the mint green, kind of like the base color, was very similar, and that's why I set it aside. And whenever I wanted to knit socks, I gravitated towards something else. Now, really excited and super happy with this. In fact, when I started these, I did want to, the same day I had wound up yarn for other projects, and I'm like, I kept thinking, oh, gotta go one more round, just one more round. I want to get to the red speckles. I want to get to the brown speckles. I want to go to get to that yellow. It's just so pretty and so much fun. Very excited about this, how this colorway knits up. Like I said, it's one of my yarns, and the colorway is called Shipwreck. I believe I came up with this at the time when I was shortly after I had visited Oregon, which was, by the way, a trip where I got to meet my friend Pam, who lives in Vancouver, who is Gingerbread Snowflakes on Instagram. And yeah, special good memories, good travel memories, good trip, and good friendship, dear friendship, as she knows. And so we were in Oregon, and gosh, did I get sidetracked like crazy or what? Goodness gracious. Oregon, coast, shipwreck, beautiful. Somehow when I came up with this new colorway, it reminded me of the vacation and of a spot in Oregon where we saw this shipwreck at the coast. Beautiful. Yeah, good memories. So that's the story of this third new sock that I started. Did I tell you I'm going to start a graduation sock for my daughter? Did I start it? No. But I have all of these started now. That's fun. You may say, hey, you've made socks. You're making socks for your husband, for your son, for your daughter, for yourself. You started 2 pairs. What about your husband? And yes, I have already planned to make a pair of socks for him. Most likely with this yarn, because we have this beautiful story that, it's just a fun love story anyways, but when we had first met in our early 20s, and after Wyatt left Germany and went back to America, I made a pair of socks for him. Through all the years that we had not seen each other, he had kept that pair of socks. Oh my God, cotton. I used 100% cotton. Had he really worn those, they would be destroyed probably after 3 months or so. But he is such a sweetheart. He kept the socks throughout all these years, and he moved many times. He moved to Alabama, Georgia, Ohio, until we reconnected. And when he moves, he leaves everything behind. But he always kept the socks that I had made him. special, very, very special. So you're going to say, but why haven't you made more for him? Well, because he doesn't wear them. Then I eventually I made him another pair of socks after we got married, and he never wore them until really, I want to say last year. So it's really crazy. Then he discovered handmade socks and that he likes them. And so but then after that, I made him the double knit ones where I held 2 sock yarns together, and he loves those. He wears them all the time at home. But I have not made socks for him from hand dyed yarn. So I'm thinking probably these. There's a hint of purple in these, so that's probably why I did not cast on right away, even though that's a super pretty colorway. I mean, it's not a colorway, it's just a play color, which I call Lucky Dog. And this is on my Corriedale nylon blend base, which I call Taos. And Taos is really a sock yarn that I love. It's a little more rustic than your typical merino sock yarn, but I feel like it doesn't do it justice because this becomes very soft and lovely once you start wearing and washing it. If you like this, the other 3 skeins are now available in the shop, and I have, if you've missed that in the last episode, everything in the shop is on sale right now due to the current situation in support of the people who are on a tighter budget. All my yarns are reduced to $22. If you live in Germany, I've reduced the shipping for you as well. I'm going to refund you half of the shipping if you order at least two skeins of yarn. So, yes, that's the one colorway that I added to the shop just today. It's a Lucky Dog, just nothing that I can repeat. 3 available in the shop. And the other ones that I put in the shop is a Sundancer yarn in the colorway Purple Rain. And rain spelled like the REIGN. So this is a yarn which is kind of, got to get up and come a little closer, because it looks like, oh yeah, purple, pretty, kind of like a little bit variegated, but it has these subtle, beautiful speckles that will be super fun when you knit with this yarn. And this is the same yarn that I had just used for the Romy Hill shawl that I recently finished, if you remember that one, and the same yarn that I am using for this shirt that I'm working on, which will have short sleeves, and I came up with this, and it's going to be called, the pattern's going to be called, and the project's already on Ravelry with the name Angel in the Desert. And I have an exciting idea for how to go on with this. So it just grows slowly and steadily. Last time I probably was here. And so added another 3 inches, and I'm exciting ideas. So this is going to be more fun to come with this guy. What else, my friends? Of course, I have continued working on my True Friend, a pattern by Vera Välimäki, and I'm so happy with how this is progressing. I this far along with my stripes. I am working with 4mm needles, and this is the yarn that I'm using. Mirasol, wait a minute, upside down, Nuna, Mirasol Nuna, which is a blend of silk and wool and viscose. The story was that this was not giving me gauge, and so I ended up darkening, over dyeing a lace yarn that I had in stash, which was originally a lighter blue, and I just wanted it a little bit closer to this color. And the yarn I had purchased in the yarn store Fiber Creek in Prescott, Arizona. Beautiful yarn store. If you ever travel in the area, make sure you visit them. So warm and welcoming, a wonderful place. So the other color was this beautiful warm brown, and because I had nothing that really fitted, I over dyed some white lace yarn. Super exciting about, I was so excited about how that turned out, that I matched the colors so nicely, and now that that I'm working with it was really the right choice, and it's making good progress and giving me a lot of joy to get going on this. I'm so, it's just at this point endless rows, because you go around the front and the same, you take the long road in the front and in the back, and so it takes some time, but it's mindless, wonderful evening knitting where you can just continue and without a lot of thought, and sometimes that's a good thing, especially when you're tired in the evenings and it gets later and later and you can't do anything complicated anymore. Then, of course, I continued on my colorwork sweater, which I was so excited about, that I showed you last time, and I am getting closer and closer to the end. It will be cropped. So let me tell you all about it. I am working with, found one ball. So I started off, let's put it that way. I started off with 2 skeins of Zia Wool's Hemes, a non-superwash merino nylon blend, and I did a gauge swatch for the sweater Early Bloomer by Heidi Kermeyer. Didn't get gauge. Anybody surprised? I wasn't. So I didn't mess around. I just dyed up fingering, and I know fingering and DK is going to give me more than DK, but whatever, I didn't care. I had this soaking, I over dyed it, and that's what I'm using. And desperate times call for desperate means, right? So these 2 together. I am on the 2nd skein with this one. This one has a generous yardage, so all good with that, for sure. I did not gauge swatch after with holding the 2 yarns together now. So I just thought, hey, and I ripped back one time, realizing I couldn't do the size that I had originally planned to do. I knew I was going to have to do a lot smaller size. So I went to double extra small. No, I'm not a double extra small, but in this case, I thought it was going to work. I was here last time and I realized I don't have the fabric that I need to split the sleeves in like 4 or 6 rounds, whatever I would have had to do. So I extended this part of the sweater. I knitted more of the raglan, and I cast on more stitches than what was required for double extra small. So then I kind of used the instructions of a larger size, but didn't stick with it. I just did what I thought would be right. And then I put the sleeves, the sleeve stitches on hold, and I kept going a little bit, and then I tried it on, and it was like I thought. It's fine now. And so it's also, I don't think it's too tight here from what I thought when I tried it on. I just need to wash and block it, and then it's going to be hopefully even better. The neckline, to figure all this out, I had already picked up the stitches and knitted the ribbing in a twisted rib. And then I wanted to introduce the pink as my cast off yarn. I held the pink double, which I wasn't sure about it, and it created a very thick and ropey edge. So I knew I was going to undo this. Also, not happy with how the ribbing sticks up here. So I knew when I was done with this, I wouldn't just rip back the pink, but also the twisted rib here and turn it into a normal 1x1 rib. And I'm going to do that exactly the way I did it on my sleeves. Maybe 1 round less, so I get, I'm hoping to get a neckline that's a little more open, so maybe even I can rip back 1 round of my light color. I'll see how, I can't recall how that is. I'll see when I rip back. And yeah, the way it is on the sleeves, I really like it. And maybe you can see, so that I knitted 4 rounds in the 1x1 rib, and then 1 round with the pink held single in the rib, and then I cast off with only knit stitches, which then has the stitches lying so nicely on the edge, kind of facing a little bit more towards the outside, which I really love. So, excuse me. At this point, I know I'm not going to need more yarn than what I've already used for the neckline. And for the bottom, I can just go until I run out of yarn. I just have to figure out how much I will need for the ribbing eventually when it gets a little bit closer. And it will be cropped. Yes, of course. Do I have the shape of a person who looks good in cropped? Very debatable, especially after this whole quarantine eating, where you eat more sweets and more junk food, or at least maybe you don't. I do. But whatever, it is what it is. You got to deal with it when the time comes. But so cropped it will be, because I will run out of yarn and there's no more, and so it's going to be fine. Yes, very excited. I'm using, by the way, if I haven't said that yet, 4mm needles yet again. I feel like every one of them. Oh no, not the Angel in the Desert shirt, but my Vera Valley Mackie sweater has 4mm needles, and so does this one. By the way, I did not continue working on my, did my camera just stop? Hold on 1 second, I gotta check. Camera's still going, so we're good. So where was I? Yes, 4 millimeters. That's what I'm using here. So it goes quite fast. So good on that. And then I thought I mentioned that I've been watching, probably like everybody else, more podcasts, and we all know those famous people, and probably everybody watches them. But I thought I mentioned a few that are not super duper popular, and maybe you just haven't found them. So I thought these are some of the people that I've been watching more, and I watch more podcasts, and I have subscribed to more than these, but I thought these are the ones that I did want to mention. Yarn Equals Joy, Avid Knits, My String of Pearls, Thread to Mend, A Historian Knits, Hip Stitch, my local fabric store, who is just putting out a series of tutorials on a quilt, on a special quilt design, which is just too cool. And also, of course, she is well known. You probably know her. My fellow New Mexican Anne, who lives up north, who is also the dyer of Woolly Wonka fibers, and an absolutely crazy, awesome knitwear designer who has published her own book, or even books. And but also I was many of these. Oh, darn it. There's a new one that I forgot that I wanted to look up. I'm going to put it on the screen because I just found her, and she was so incredibly pleasant to watch. I think her name is Sarah also. I hope I'm not messing this up. But I just started watching her. She's in New York State, spins a lot of yarn, which I found so inspiring. I have to catch up. I only saw her first episode, and I want to watch more. But just yesterday, Soulful Spinning came out with a new episode, and people, I've had the itch to get back to the spinning wheel, and this was just what I needed to push me over the edge. So the gears kept going. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to pick up next? Am I going to card some wool and make some bats, or what do I have in stash? And when I saw her hugging these big balls of roving on her podcast, I thought, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I still have wool from Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, and that's what I'm going to pull out, and let's see what I have and what I will pick up next. And one of them is this gorgeous BFL. I have 2 of these 8-ounce fluff balls of BFL. So garment spinning in this case, and the other one is by the Barefoot Spinner, which I was so delighted to find them again, because I knew them from so many years ago, and I was so excited that they were still at the festival. And what I purchased from them was well, let's see how much it is. 18 ounces, so over a pound of all wool. It doesn't specify, but I'm sure this is going to be a beautifully heathered yarn. Again, an amount for a garment. Another thing that I found, and that I'm anxious to get back into spinning, because I remember spinning a sample of this probably years ago, but then I have 2 braids of this, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this fiber. I've had this for ages in my stash. It's from Cloverleaf Farms. I bought it at Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, probably when I'm no, not probably, I'm sure that back then we still lived in Maryland. And this is one of the fiber, one of the spinning tops. It's an all merino 4 ounces. And it's one that looks so pretty and pleasing to the eye. But when you spin this in a short forward, I mean, just any way where you just draft and combine your colors, it will completely muddy the colors, and you're not gonna preserve the joy of the colors. So a few years ago, I came up with this. I had this light bulb moment, and after I learned spinning from the fold, which means you pull off a piece of your spinning top to the length of the staple length, roughly, of your fiber that's in the braid. Here, this one is a little bit longer. I already pulled that off on the German podcast, so this is a little bit longer because it was the first one. When you spin this, the way I do it, some people just leave it over the finger and spin. I usually take it off and pinch it a little bit between thumb and index finger. And then you pull it off in literally from this fold here, and you spin. You can spin very finely. And the biggest difference between this and drafting like this is that you are gonna spin one color after the other, just the way you see them here. And I plan to spin this quite finely, so I will have literally after each other sections of white, purple, green, orange, white, purple, white, and yellow. And I'm super excited. I'm gonna try to have a little bit of a video footage also for you, so you can see a little bit more about this technique. And I'm excited about this yarn then. And I have 2 of these 4-ounce braids, which would probably be really lovely for a large lace shawl or something. Yeah, that's that. What? I'm already at the end? Hard to believe. Okay. My battery is telling me it's low already anyway, so I have come to the end, and I have told you everything I meant to tell you, and I will see you again shortly. And until then, I hope you're gonna have fun with your woolly projects, and I hope you're gonna stay well, you and your families and your loved ones and your friends. And I wish you happy knitting. Bye.